I hear among other things is is homosexuality a choice, is addiction a choice, is everything else a choice because we're born with it, aren't we? We're born with all these things, with all these affections, with all these desires. We're born with them. Well, I would actually say you're asking the wrong question. Ever since Adam ate of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, sin is in this world. Sin has been a part of it. And the only choice, and this can be really hard to wrap your mind around, but even for the Christians sometimes it can be very hard to wrap your mind around. The only choice we do have is to sin or not to sin. And let me tell you something too. In the midst of these doctors, medical professionals telling people, "Oh, you need the surgery. You need the surgery to be happy. You need it. Ignoring the mantra again that we could have. You need the surgery. It can make you happy. It can make you whole." And time upon time and more of that. But encourage you in something for a second. God will never lead you to a solution where sin is the answer. He just won't. So if that's the case, then sinful desire can be overcome through the help of Christ because he'll never lead you to sin as a solution. Because it will ultimately bring you destruction and misery, as we've seen throughout a lot of these cases. A lot of people regret transition or giving into the desire, sinful lifestyle or whatever have you. Because it only leads to destruction and fear. We cannot allow, and this is what really gets me. I've even seen some Christians do this. I can't speak to whether they're truly Christian or not, but I've even seen some Christians do this. We cannot allow modern culture and techniques and maybe even modern desires to influence the scripture of Christ. And I've seen scriptures used to justify everything. I've seen scriptures used to justify transgenderism. There's no Jew, there's no Gentile, or that verse. I've seen scripture used to justify evil time and time again. But that's because they're looking at it through a very self-serving and selfish lens rather than the end of Christ, rather than the end of God, rather than how he intended us to perceive Scripture. With all the destruction going on in the world, you look at, I'm not gonna read this, I don't think, but you look at just Matthew 24:6-12, and you're like, oh, it's gonna get really bad. Some people think we're actually in the end times now because how bad it is, and it is bad. I personally think it's gonna get a lot worse before it even comes close to getting better. But some people with good reason do think we're at the end of times. And with that, the devil can come along and say, oh, it's not worth it. You should just give up. Or better yet, you should just take the easy way out. You should just take the easy road. You should just react. You should just not worry about these sorts of things. You should just give in to debauchery, drunkenness to make the pain go away. Maybe you should just do anything you can except focus on the issue because it's not really worth it. It's not very relevant. But, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how bad it gets, God would not have sent His Son. Jesus would not have come if there was no way out of this. If it was worthy for Isaiah, if it was worthy for Jeremiah, if it was worthy for thousands of prophets to shout seemingly into the empty void, because they were not popular, to shout into the seemingly empty void, hey, God, judgment is coming. God, judgment is coming. This guy named Jesus, he's coming. This Messiah, the Savior of the world, he's coming. God would not have sent His Son and made His prophets do that if it was a fruitless endeavor, if there was no way out. Understand why the devil gets in your head and says, oh, it's not worth it. It's just drink us all the way or do whatever. Do whatever gives you that feeling of dopamine, that feeling of happiness, that just feeling of forgetfulness where you just forget about all of it. The only reason the devil would do that is because he knows what ultimately gonna happen. I don't know if he knows everything. He's not omnipotent yet, God. But we see in Scripture even the demons do know what is gonna happen in a fruitless endeavor. But that mentality is, okay, if I'm going to hell, and if I'm going to rot for eternity, if I'm ultimately going to use, okay, I accept that. There's nothing I can do. But I'm going to take all of you with me. But we can't afford to fall for that. Because like I say, God would not have sent His Son if it was a fruitless endeavor. So that means it did not, because He did. I understand the struggle and the trouble with maybe feeling like you're not being listened to, or maybe feeling like it's fruitless endeavor or anything. But every single person God sets on this earth in eternity is a part of His plan. Now you can walk away from that plan, but every single person that God sets on this earth is part of His plan if you walk toward it and follow Him. And the devil can say, oh, it's a fruitless endeavor. You just shouldn't bother the yacht cause. Don't you know all these things that are going on in the world? I mean, what are you going to do about it? Well, I'm definitely going to be part of the solution rather than either neutral or maybe even worse, part of the problem itself. Guys, in the darkest moments, God shines through. Because He's always with you. And He's always with you because He loves you. And He ultimately has plans for this world far greater than the devil says He could. Guys, if God's on your side, then you're the majority. That can be hard to remember sometimes, but with God on your side, you are the majority, because ultimately, these people who fall away from God, this world and all its devices who fall away from God, they got their role in the moment, but they're ultimately gonna suffer in agony. They're ultimately gonna suffer in hell. And yes, they change their ways. And you can be a part of that. Even if it seems like you're not, even if it seems like you're not making much of a difference, you can be a part of that. Even maybe if you are not covered or you are not needed until years from now, the groundwork is so important for that. Guys, I love you. God bless you. And I'll see you next week.